Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Miriam and I love everything about books. I love reading books, I love collecting books, I even love writing books. I wrote some books myself, they are in Dutch, because I am Dutch. And in 2021 I challenged myself to read 365 books, and I tell you about my experience, and I also post different videos because today's video is actually going to be a book haul video because, like I said, I love collecting books. But I had this rule for myself that I could not buy books for 50 days. I managed to do that actually. But before that I just got a huge book haul coming in. I got a lot of books secondhand, and after that I also bought some books. But to be honest, now that I have a library subscription, I'm not really tempted to buy a lot of new books. I only buy books if I know the author, and sometimes even if I've already read the book, because actually for a lot of books that I got in were books that I already read before I got them, but I got them secondhand, or I wanted to have them so badly that I got them at my local bookstore. So let's dive into the books. First are two Dutch original books that were actually gifted to me. The first one, I think I've shown it in a weekly wrap-up video. I'm not entirely sure because I read it around the time when I quit doing weekly wrap-up videos, so maybe you haven't seen it. It's called Gewijde Chaos, Sacred Chaos. Now I do remember I've talked about this book. And it's a novella. Every year at the Dutch Book Week, as we call it, you get a free book. And this was actually gifted to me for the Christian Book Week. It's actually a Christian version of the National Book Week, and it's around the same time, and you get the Christian gift at Christian bookstores. So I already read it, and it's a beautiful book, especially if you're trying to read 365 books. Reading a novella really helps. And the other book is a book I have not read yet. This is the 6th book in the Campers series. I've probably told you that I'm reading this series one book a month. It's written by Johan Leeflang, and he is he writes books, well, his books are published by the same publisher as mine, so we've got the same publisher, and this book was gifted to me for the 50th anniversary of a newspaper. I'm a digital, well, I get access to the digital articles, so I can access the website and read all the articles, and you could, they gave away some things, and of the things you could choose from, I like this one the best. So this is the book 6, the Press Alarm, I think. The writer of this book also works at the newspaper where the book is about, and the newspaper that existed for 50 years, so they had their anniversary. So yeah. So next are a lot of secondhand books that almost all of them I already read and wanted to have my own copy. That's the case for this one. It's in Dutch. The title is Cranberry Zomer by Irene Hannon. The original title is Hope Harbor. It's the first book in the Hope Harbor series by Irene Hannon. I'm collecting the entire series because I love these books so much, and I got the a second-hand edition, which is beautiful. Next are these two books by Lynn Austin. One of them is about Ezra and the other Zechariah, the prophets, I think prophets from the Old Testament. Well, Ezra was a priest and Zechariah a prophet. There's only one book missing in the series, Nehemiah. I don't have that one yet, but I want to add that one to my collection as well someday. I already read these books twice, I think, so I don't think I will read them again very soon, but if I want to reread them, I have my own copies now. That's also the case for these two books by Lisa Wingate. I listened to this book as an audiobook. The Dutch title is Kinderen van de Rivier, but the original title is Before We Were Yours. and this is such a heartwarming story. And the other book, I read the ebook. The Dutch title, Verhaal zoekt liefde. The original title is The Story Keeper. And I like this book, but somehow I felt that things were missing. I think I said that in my weekly wrap-up video, and then I discovered that Lisa Wingate wrote novellas that go in between books she writes. And when I read the novella that comes after this book, I was satisfied with the ending. I loved it so much, and I definitely decided that it was better with the novella after it. I really had to read that as well to like this story more. I don't think the novella is actually available in Dutch, which is a pity, but anyhow, I read it because I read a lot of English as well. That was not the end of the second-hand books. Now, there are some other second-hand books that I had not read when I got them, and a few of them are already read, and the other two are books that I have not read yet. The three I have read are novellas. These were all gifts in previous book week thingies. This one was written by Elizabeth Musser, which is, I think she's the only not Dutch author who has ever written a book for the gift for the book week. Waiting for Peter, I believe, is the original title. But the funny thing is that this author writes, sometimes her books get published in the Netherlands before they get published in the USA. There are even some books that have been published in Dutch, German and some other languages, but not in English. While the author is actually from America, which is interesting. And the other is, this one is called Droomkind, and this one is called Later, and I've talked about both these books in previous weekly wrap-up videos, so if you want to know what my opinion on these books were, you can check out one of those videos. And now for the last two second-hand books are books that I have not read yet. This one is on my August TBR, so maybe by the time you see this video I have read it. I'm not sure because I'm reading the books on alphabetical order and I have not arrived at S yet. I'm still stuck at D at the moment, or not D, like ABCD. Whoa, very difficult. But actually there are a lot of books in Dutch that start with a D because the translation of the is the, which starts with a D, obviously. So maybe I will be reading this book when you see this video. It is possible. It's actually Scherven van Hoop, the Dutch title, and the original title, because this is also a translated book, Broken Angels. Like, if I had read the original title, the original book, in its original language, I would have read it by now. And this is a book that I'm saving up for December because it's actually a biblical fiction on the birth of Jesus. So therefore I'm saving it. It's by Angela Hunt and the original title is The Nativity Story, a novelization. So the Dutch title is a bit different. But I saved this one up for December because I'm actually trying to read books within 2 months after I got them, so I won't be left with huge stacks of unread books. Well, and now we move on to the books that I bought new. There are 2 books that I already read but wanted to have my own copy. So for the books I already read, this one by Melanie Dobson, Een Kamer Vol Lichtjes. I believe the original title is Memories of Glass because I talked about this book quite a lot. Oh yeah, Memories of Glass. And I listened to the audiobook and I love this story so much that I decided I wanted my own copy of this book. And that was the same for Atomic Habits. I listened to the Dutch audiobook and I decided I had to get this book because there are so many wise lessons in it. Well, this whole thing is, except for Atomic Habits, turned out to be a huge Dutch book haul video. I got a lot of books in Dutch. I think I talked about this in my previous book haul video as well, that I want to support my local Christian bookstore, and if I want to buy secondhand books, I usually have to buy Dutch books because there are not a lot of English secondhand books available where I live. So therefore my book haul video is very Dutch at the moment, but I got one other English book. The Ruthless Elimination of Harry, a book I bought for the podcast I have with a friend. It's in Dutch, unfortunately, so if you don't speak Dutch you won't be able to listen to it, but we are going to read this book and share our lessons from it in a podcast in October, I think. This is one of John Larcome's book that has not been translated into Dutch yet. It might be translated in the future, but I read Garden City by the same author and that changed my life, so I'm really curious about this book. This is one of the few books I have not read yet. And well, whilst we're talking about the books I got for the podcast, that was the same with this book. The Dutch title Dagdroom, the original title Chasing Dreams by Deborah Rainey. I think you say it like that. Deborah? I don't know. I'm sorry. Anyway, we did not listen. We read this book in June. It came out in May, I believe. So we read it in June and made a podcast about it in Dutch, unfortunately, again. But yeah, it was a lovely book and I like having this on my bookshelves. Well, this book I actually got before my 50 days of no book buying. Also Chasing Dreams, I also got that one before that time. And this is Before I Called You Mine. And this was a beautiful book. And yeah, that's all I can say about it, and I'm really happy that I got this book. I actually had not read a book by this author before, so so I've changed my rules about book buying since I got a library subscription again, that I can only buy books by authors I know or books that I know will be beautiful. And if that rule applied a few months ago, I would probably not have bought this book, but it is a beautiful book and I will definitely read it again in the future. I got this book as well at that time, Kijk omhoog, Just Look Up by Courtney Walls. I loved this book, and that actually is the same. I had not read a book by this author before, but my best friend, or one of my best friends that I do the podcast with, recommended this book, and I was like, well, then I can read this book, that will be okay. So now I got the second book in the series by Courtney Walls. I have not read this book yet. This was the book I bought after my 50 days of no book buying. Well, actually, I think I did not buy books for almost 60 days actually. So I have not read this book yet. This is going to be on my September TBR. I think that video will be up next week, so then you will see this book again, probably. The original title, Just Let Go. And it's the second book in the series by Courtney Walls. Now there are 2 books left for this book haul, and those are both books I have not read yet. This book by Irene Hannon, the 5th book in the Hope Harbor series. The original title is Driftwood Bay, and I now own the 1st, 4th and 5th book in this series, so I still need to get my hands on the 2nd and 3rd book. The 6th, and I believe there are a total of 7 books in this series, are not published in the Netherlands yet, so I can't buy those. I can't own those yet. But this book is also going to be on my September TBR, so you will probably see it again next week as well. I think I'm even more excited to read this book than Just Let Go. And the last book I got is Zangvogels, or Songbirds, by Christy Lefteri. I don't know how to say her name, I'm sorry. The author of The Beekeeper of Aleppo, and I read that book and that was beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, so I think this book will be that as well. And I love the colour of the cover, and well, I love the cover in general, it's beautiful, and I really had to get this book. So yeah. Well, these were the 21 books I got in the last few months. I'm not really on a book buying ban again. I am planning a trip to a secondhand bookshop very soon, so I might buy some new books. But even with the secondhand books, I want to be a bit more strict with myself, so only buy books that I know I will enjoy and or really want to read, and if they're not really expensive. So if there's like a book that I really want to read and it's only €2, something like that, then I can buy it, and if I don't like it I can always give it away. I hardly ever unhaul books, but I might actually do it at the end of this year. I might be very critical on my bookshelves and put away some books that I do not read anymore or I'm not planning on rereading. So I might do a unhaul thing. I might even film it, so stay tuned. If you're not a subscriber yet of my channel and you don't want to miss any more bookish videos, then consider subscribing to my channel. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, and let me know in a comment what was your most recent book purchase. I'm really curious about that. Maybe it inspires me to buy that book as well, or at least read it and then decide if I want to buy it, because that's how I have to do the things from now on. Well, and that was all I had to say. I hope you have a great day and happy reading.